managing learning and development in groups. The aim of this unit is to assess your learning and development when it comes to managing the learning and development that happens within a group. Okay, so this is very much about understanding the different management methods that will allow you to create a positive learning environment, and perhaps some of the approaches that you could be taking so that you could manage the dynamic within a group learning environment, how to involve learners in the group learning environment. So this module is very much about the actual group and how to manage the learning that takes place within that group format, and looking at the dynamic as well. So let's move into looking what this unit is going to include. So we're going to look at what the characteristics of group environments that foster learning are, and some of them, well, right now on the screen you're going to have a look at some of the characteristics, but as part of unit 6 we're going to cover them in much more detail, and also we're going to look at even more characteristics, because it is important that we know what helps us create an environment, a group learning environment that promotes learning and creates a sense of inclusion. So some of the characteristics, as you see on the screen, are a supportive learning culture. So how do we create a supportive learning culture? How do we foster collaboration and empathy? How do we promote inclusive behavior? How are we addressing our learners or participants' needs? How are we encouraging interaction for the various activities? And again, how do we ensure that our approach to delivering and training and to managing the interaction is compliant with the health and safety regulations of the organizations, and also if there are any external health and safety regulations. So these are some of the characteristics, just some of the characteristics. There are more, but we're going to be talking about that in more detail in the actual sessions part of this unit. We're going to look into the actual ways we could manage group behavior and the group dynamics. And some of those ways include setting ground rules, kind of raising awareness around the internal and external policies so that people know what they should and what they shouldn't be doing. Also, how we deliver feedback. We are going to look at a very useful way of delivering feedback, which is called the feedback sandwich approach. And we're also going to look into how we can use positive reinforcement. So these are some of the approaches that we're going to be looking at when it comes to how we could manage the group dynamics effectively in order to create the desired learning environment as practitioners. So the feedback sandwich, again, very briefly, this is a useful way to deliver constructive feedback, and the reason why it's called a sandwich is because it looks like a hamburger in a nutshell, where we start by delivering positive feedback, so what the person is doing well, then we progress towards where the change needs to be observed, what change needs to take place, for instance, the negative feedback, the constructive feedback, what the behaviors or the performance that needs to change, and then we end on a positive note. So we start with something positive, we go into what needs to change, the constructive piece of feedback, and we end by delivering positive feedback. So we're going to look into that as well as part of unit 6. And we are going to talk about how we stay compliant with the legal and organizational requirements, again, in our approach that we take to managing the learning and development in groups. So you've already heard about those, but again, we're going to discuss them again as they are important. Okay, so now we're going to look at optional unit 7, which is on the topic